Number 12 is where we start our section of polynomials. So again, this was several weeks ago, and one of the big battles we had to fight was what type of problem are we actually doing? Because we would get to a problem like this and everyone would say, oh sweet, distribution. Distribution is multiplication, guys. This is not a multiplication problem. This is a subtraction problem. And then we're just subtracting like terms. 4 minus 6, that's -2. -3 minus 7n, that's -10n. Again, you don't believe me? Put it in the calculator and check. -3 minus 7 is -10. Now, look here, I don't see my answer anywhere, but that's because these are written in descending order for the most part, so you get out of these last ones, which are funny looking. -10n minus 2 is the same thing as our answer. They just flip-flopped them. Signs stay the same, -10n, -10n, -2, -2. 13, this is where we actually have a distribution problem, but it's a single distribution. Please don't mess up on the numbers. Right now, you just need to be focusing on honing your skills with the variables. Number times number is 40. N squared times n squared. Let's think about this. N squared times n squared. Well, what is n squared anyways? It's n times n. And we're multiplying that by n times n, which is just n to the 4th power. So 40n to the 4th power. Again, a lot of people teach you, oh, if you're multiplying the same base, add the exponents. But this is the reason why that works. This is why we just add the exponents, because this works out to be n to the 4th this way. 5 times -7 is -35. This would be n cubed. And 5 times -2 would be -10 n squared. Oh, it almost got me. I was about to circle that answer. I was so close because the numbers all check out. But the variables were not correct. I want the correct numbers and variables, the correct coefficients and variables is D. 14, again, I have so many people every year that spend tons of time on 14. Because they look and they go, oh crap, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 multiplications. Oh man, Mr. Sir, that's crazy. Guys, this is not a multiplication problem. This is an addition problem. So all we're doing is combining like terms. Heck, it's easier than the subtraction problem for most people. Let's find some like terms here. Okay, I see these are all in descending order, so I'm going to start with the n squared. -7 and +4 make -3n squared. Go on. +6 and -6n make 0n, which means that's completely out of here. So as it stands, it looks like that one's gone and that one's gone because it had an n piece. And that one had an n piece. Well, let's just double check. Let's finish the problem. 4 plus 6 is 10. -3n squared plus 10. And finally, after 2 or 3 times of trying to do all these crazy distributions, we are on to a double distribution problem. 6n times 6n is 36n squared. 6n times 1 is 6n. -1 times 6n is -6n. -1 times 1 is -1. Combine like terms in the middle, and they don't really combine as much as they cancel out. 36n squared minus 1, final answer. These you can graph and check them. But what you're looking for is for the graph to line completely on top of itself, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, let's do it with this last one. It was probably the hardest, most confusing one, so let's just check it. It was 6n minus 1 and 6n plus 1. We don't have an n, we're going to use an x, 6n minus 1 6n plus 1. And then we believe that this is going to be the same exact value as 36n squared minus 1. We press graph. Here comes our first equation. Mine's easy to see because it's multiple colors, but yours, if another graph doesn't show up, it means you did it right. Our second equation comes through, and I realize that my graph didn't move and nothing new popped up, which means our original problem and what we are claiming to be the factored version of it are the exact same values. Okay, they're the same exact graph. Continuing on with polynomials, we have 5a minus 3 quantity squared. And there's an answer up here. I see it already. It gets kids every single time. Here's what you cannot do. You cannot just say, oh, then we'll square that piece and square that piece. That's going to give you one of those, depending on what you do with the negative 3. That's not how quantity squaring works. This means 5a minus 3 times itself. In other words, it is 5a minus 3 times 5a minus 3. Well, my first distribution is 25a squared. My second is negative 15a. Negative 15a again, and positive 9. Now, you might be a little cancel happy after the last problem, and you might look and say, oh great, those cancel in the middle. They do not. Negative 15 and negative 15 just simply make a larger negative. 25a squared minus 30a plus 9. Been a while. Been a while since we've done that. Finally, number 17 is just a vocab problem. It says identify the constant term. Constant versus variable. Variable means changing. That's why we always use letters for them, because this x, a variable, could represent any number. Constant means something unchanging, stays the same all the time, a basic normal number. My constant term is just the plain negative 8. Please also be familiar with terms such as coefficient, which means the number in front of the variable. Also be able to tell me how many terms there are. A term is a piece separated from the rest by addition and subtraction, meaning this would have 3 terms. Please know those vocab things.